Middle of all this garbage isekai, there is a hidden gem that could have been the founder of today's isekai stories, but all of these years it was forgotten. The name of anime is El Hazard. Before we dive into this story, let's go back to the 90s and see how this masterpiece was made. The anime El Hazard, The Magnificent World, was created in an era where isekai was not yet well known. Its first series was an OVA released in 1995 and it was original. This work was not adaptation of manga or light novel. This series gets light novel, manga, book and video game, but it was completely original idea from Studio AIC and the legendary director Hiroki Hayashi. You can see his other work in the screen. This bold approach gave the work very special place in anime history and made it one of the genre founders. Now we can go that to a story. A story begins with a character named Nanami, who's annoyed by a boy named Makoto, a very intelligent person who's doing his research in a lab. And after that, a story switched to a teacher called Fujisama. And then we go to the student council president Kazuhiro, who seems to be very evil and everyone is fed up with him. He and Nanami are siblings, and Kazuhiro is very hateful and jealous of Makoto from childhood to this day. That's why he wants to ruin his research and experiment. On a day when Makoto, Nanami and Fujisama sensei are talking together and be together, he goes to Makoto device, break it, and as a result, even Makoto fights with Katsuhiko. These four people go another world through a portal that has opened. In the world that encounter a strange creature that look like insect and seems to separate from each other. Makoto and a girl named Venus get into a fight with this creature, and Fujisama sensei, who noticed this, hear their voice and come to help. And it's interesting that he suddenly become very powerful and saves them. He just figure out these creatures aren't people and aren't cosplayers. The guards of this mysterious girl, who seems to be princess now, comes to their aid. They take them to their realm to both repay their kindness and host them. This is where we realize this world is named El Hazard, a fantasy world that is completely different from the earth we know. So before we dive into the characters and a lot of things, what makes this world special? What separates El Hazard from other isekai are details you might not find in any other anime. One of my favorite parts is episode 5 of the Wanderer series. Makoto goes to Priestess Afuro at the Temple of the Wind, and here he wants to help build a structure along with Elele and Sensei, of course. This structure she wants to build has architectural problem. Since Makoto is familiar with this architecture that is much more advanced in our world, he comes and gives some suggestions, but they are not acceptable to the priestess. Although he tries his best, and when he's attacked by bandits while looking for a resource, he comes and uses very important tool in our history that was built in this world. And it's interesting how you can show without interfering much in history and technology of a civilization. You can use the technology of your own world with the facilities this world give you. You can still be an inventor. This was very fascinating to me, and it rarely happened in isekai works. Another one is, I think it's very interesting that each priestess represents a type of element, and that element is somewhat similar to the culture of the realm or the country. We see that. For example, the water element represents natural fertility and agriculture, and the wind element represents architecture and house construction. Although it might seem strange to you, in Middle Eastern culture, especially in countries like Iran, which is very dry, wind has great importance. In a type of architecture, wind catcher were built that were in fact a special type of architecture that allow the wind to flow and not escape easily. Also play a role in keeping water, or even might say a form of cooling, and this is where it makes sense. And another one is the fire element. We see it's a type of gladiator competition which represent the fire of combat and a lot of things. If you're tired of a flat character and a fake isekai world, this anime will show you how a real fantasy world can be. Characters here don't just exist for a story, they breathe. The characterization in this work has depth. Each character is allowed to have their own personal arc to some extent without being a stagnant world. And this beautiful world in the journeys that Makoto is taking, other characters, especially Nanami, who have seen unluckier than anyone else and is living like an ordinary person in this world. What make it more interesting is that this world is so alive and dynamic that you don't feel like you're watching a game world, that the characters are just NPCs, which in my opinion we can see in a lot of isekai anime. But here we see that exact opposite, and its beautiful world is truly alive as much as its beauty. Of course, one thing might not be interesting for the current taste, and that's a typical fantasy story of Kazuhiro, like a classic villain who comes and wants to bother Makoto with his evil plans, and he fails every time. It's as if peace is established in this world and you don't see a big danger. It's as if villain or a danger is not waiting for us, and it's give a good feeling to some extent. This world become more and more open with the character and their backstories. In a way, it seems we can see this different map more completely in the end. What if the fantasy world of Elhazard, instead of funny adventure, had a serious and deadly threats? Let's go to the OVA and see how an anime can be completely revolutionized. Although this was narrative from the 26 episode series, we also have an OVA that follow a different story. In fact, it seems our main character, instead of entering the world of Elhazard with his device, entered this world through an ancient treasure and by a mysterious woman. Although many things are not different from each other, there's a strange history, a painting that seems like our main Makoto is a girl, and it seems they have connection. This world of Elhazard has ancient technology, a technology that we use for good but is going to fall into the hand of bad people. And if the ancient weapon is activated, which look like a Death Star from Star Wars, it can cause the destruction of a nation and civilization of Elhazard. Make this story more special is that main character has a noble goal. The last episode, in my opinion, is the most interesting last episode I've seen in many isekai works. It's as if its memory, its different timeline, where one person sacrifice himself so that other could reach the happy ending. A style of anime that you rarely see something similar is that maybe it give you feelings similar to classic RPG games like Chrono Trigger, YS, or even Final Fantasy. This feeling will be very similar to you, and how incredible this feeling is. It is strange that we always go back to the works and gems that were created in the past and see how much love and passion was poured into them. This work is an art of peace of its own kind. Its animation is clean, fluid, and captivating. A canvas that is spectacular scene by scene, and I definitely recommend this work to you. Not because it is one of my favorite fantasy anime, but in my opinion, among all of these useless isekai and fantasy anime, it's time to watch a work that you not only understand its impact on the anime industry, but maybe also have some fun just watching this anime.